With Brexit now likely to be postponed for a further 2 weeks to April 12th, this, however, does not change the many challenges that have had to be addressed when it comes to logistics and trade between Britain and continental Europe. And, of course, trade over the border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, which is, of course, a part of the UK. So will that impact trade between Ireland and France? Today, I'm joined by Sinead Lonergan, who is the France President for Enterprise Ireland here in Paris. You're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much.
And to Richard Dujardin, who's President of Network Ireland and also working for Transdev and Eurolines here in France. And your organisation endeavours to strengthen business relations between Ireland and France, if I'm right.
That's correct, David.
You're very welcome to the programme, Richard.
Thank you very much.
Now, first, I will start with Sinead. Can you just give us a quick outline of what Enterprise Ireland's mission is here in France?
Well, Enterprise Ireland is a government agency that works with Irish companies at every stage of their development, so that being from startup to large company. We invest in companies, we help them all the way along their growth phases, and one of our services to our companies, and in fact one of a very important service to our companies, are our overseas offices, our overseas network, helping companies to internationalise. So France, Enterprise Ireland France is just one of those offices. France represents the fourth largest market for Irish domestic exports, let's say SME exports. And what do we do here? We offer a wide range of services to SMEs that are looking to grow their market here in France. A team of 9 people currently and growing, expanding into Lyon, currently opening an office in Lyon. And in the light of the big B word, currently we're very, very active on the ground looking for opportunities for Irish companies.
And what are the biggest challenges to setting up a small to medium enterprise in this country? I'll ask that to both of you, but Sinead, seeing that is really your remit, is to help people set up here and help people develop here in France coming from Ireland. What are the main challenges that you've encountered?
Well, we have currently over 500 companies, Irish companies, exporting into the French market. One way of growing your market into France is clearly to set up an office, is to set up a presence. And we would strongly encourage Irish companies to hire, to recruit, to build teams, if needs be, to acquire in France, to grow your teams. Now, I suppose I'm here maybe 6 years in France, and certainly when I came here first, there was this fear of taking on people here in France. You hear always the bad stories, you never hear the good stories. So our role is here to share the good stories of companies that have done it. So what are the challenges? Or what does it take? It takes people, it takes resources, it takes money, it takes people, it takes vision, it takes courage. And we're here to support that. And
alongside Network Ireland, Richard, on that same subject, I mean, when I came first to France back in the year 2000, France was notoriously difficult, or at least had a difficult reputation back in the past, about setting up either your own business or a small enterprise. How have things changed in 2019?
No, I would say things have fortunately dramatically improved. And the current government is definitely encouraging self-employment, auto-entreprise. So it's today much easier to set up a business, either if you're an independent or even if you want to set up a branch from a foreign company like an Irish one. So I would say today the climate is much better. Rules of employment have also eased dramatically. So there's less and less hurdles, let's say, to set up a business in France.
And just, can you give us a quick breakdown of the annual trade figures directly between France and Ireland? I mean, what's the turnover? How much is it worth?
So basically, Ireland export to France something like 7 billion euro, round figures, on a yearly basis. But the bulk of it comes from the pharmaceutical and chemical industry. More than 60% of it comes. So there's definitely a big room for improvement. And I would say that the B word is definitely, for me, an opportunity for Ireland to improve and to increase.
And back to you, Sinead, you did touch on a number of businesses, Irish businesses, that are active in France. Have there been any recurring concerns with these businesses working here in France with the issue of Brexit, and now that it's arisen on the table?
But that's interesting you should ask that question, because the Enterprise Ireland for the last 2.5 years have been working actively with our client companies, with Irish companies back at base, let's say back in Ireland, to prepare them for potentially a hard Brexit. So concerns, yes, we would certainly have seen, and we still do see concerns back at base. Are Irish companies ready? Do they understand the possibilities of losing market share in the UK? Are they ready? Do they understand the logistics issues that might actually face them if they're exporting to the continent? Landbrige and all. So we have been working actively creating courses online, etc., to help them to actually deal with these issues. Now here, when they come to France, in fact, there is only opportunity. I was going to say opportunité. There's only opportunity. We just see opportunity. It's an opportunity to diversify from a market that currently takes 34% of our exports into a Eurozone market of over 400 million people. All we see is opportunity currently, even though it is an issue back at base.
So every cloud has a silver lining. Now, back to yourself, Richard, because of your job and your experience working with the transport companies Transdev and Eurolines, you touched on it yourself, Sinead. Import and export issues between France and Ireland are looking at a post-Brexit. What are they looking at if that land bridge that Sinead brought up becomes logistically and financially disadvantageous if tariffs then certain are imposed?
So I would say that firstly, the sea will become the main way to France. That's my good guess. And actually, I was a bit surprised to hear that already some French companies producing on the west of Ireland, close by Galway, are not using the land bridge of the UK. They are already shipping product directly to Europe. So I would say that could increase dramatically. And when you look, and I think it's a kind of very big symbol, because we were with Air Grid last weekend, and they're really working hard on putting electricity link directly between France and Ireland from Cork to Brittany. So that showed the way.
Now, you're mentioning that the small companies. It's very interesting that the electricity grid could be shared across the Celtic Sea between Brittany and Cork, if it would be. But you're mentioning now that people in the west coast of Ireland are no longer or aren't using this land bridge, and it's more advantageous for them to come into the French ports. But are the ports here in France ready to take up the slack, if you will, if everything else is going to be coming through maritime means?
I would say that the French ports are always looking for further opportunities. So I'm not a port expert, but definitely they are, let's say, sometimes suffering from the competition from either Antwerpen or Den Haag in Netherlands, so or Rotterdam. So I think it would be business opportunities. So I would be quite positive to look at it. And when you look at the geography, definitely the French ports are the easiest one to get to.
Absolutely, and in fairness, they're the nearest.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line. Yeah. Now, this is something that I brought up a couple of weeks ago with the Irish ambassador Patricia O'Brien when she was here in the studio with us. But it's something I'd like to put to both of you as well, because you work so closely on Franco-Irish relations. This is something about the rivalry about attracting UK-based institutions and, of course, financial institutions to relocate out of the UK, be it to Dublin, or be it to Paris, be it to Frankfurt, be it to wherever it may be. Has this proved to be an opportunity for Network Ireland to both still say, well, B2B relations? And how have you been working on that issue?
So personally, I would say that firstly, it's a fair competition, and at the end of the day, it becomes a business opportunity for both countries. So that goes very well. But the symbol of the whole thing is that really the Irish Stock Exchange has become part now of Euronext, which is a French-based stock market. So overall, the financial institutions are relying very much on the Eurozone, on a stable zone, to build up a stronger relationship. So it's only positive on this hand too.
And what about yourself, Sinead?
I guess I echo exactly the comments of Richard. I mean, we're talking about a Eurozone here, a space where we have the same currency. There's no risk of échange. We see each a win-win for the Eurozone, wherever these institutions go. And from an Irish SME perspective, we have a very healthy ecosystem in Ireland where SMEs work with institutions. They provide good services, be it from a fintech perspective. I mean, we talk about the ports, but we must recognise also we have a very active service economy in Ireland, and we're exporting more and more of these services globally. So.
And talking about exports, it was interesting you brought up there that the pharmaceutical imports into France, or the exports from Ireland, are the higher end of the percentage. But when one thinks of Ireland and exports, when you're, as an Irish person, you always think of agriculture and agribusiness. And when it comes to Irish agricultural produce coming to France, have you encountered any degree of protectionism or resistance against Irish dairy or beef imports coming into the country?
I would say, not peculiarly, sorry, but overall, already France, firstly, Ireland and France are always the main partner when it's time to speak at EU level about politique agricole commune. So I think that they are more friends than competitors here. But I would say maybe because France is already, let's say, privileged with beef and dairy product, that you don't see that much of the Irish one on the market. But still, I understood that, I think it's one of the ministers that visited us last week, said that we are one of the big market for export of lamb already. So, but I know that you would be keen to see Kerrygold butter over there. But
this is the whole point. Kerrygold is one of the most iconic Irish brands, and one of the most iconic ads of the late 80s was about a French man putting butter on the spuds there, Andre, and is there something I can help? But when you first arrive in France, you can't get Kerrygold butter. You can get it in Belgium, you can get it in Spain, you can get it in Dubai, you can even get it in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, but you can't get it here in Paris. So what's the issue?
I think as Richard says, you're talking about a commodity. What sells butter? It's marketing. So, we see that all the time with our client companies here in the French market. You have to sell your difference. So, again, our agency is working with companies all the time to on their innovation agenda. So when you bring a product to France, it has to be different. There's a lot of fantastic products here in France and services, so we have to stand out in some way to be able to offer solutions.
And now, back to yourself, Richard, Network Irlande, this is a very interesting thing, and it's obviously a very good exercise to show the cooperation between Dublin and Paris, if you will. You host an annual Ireland-France Business Awards ceremony. Tell us a little bit about that. What are the criteria to get yourself on the shortlist?
Okay, so basically, the concept of this award is very simple. The best Irish company in France, the best French company in Ireland, and there's a third prize which is quite important to us, which is the best company showing some, let's say, commitment to sustainable development. So that's that. So basically, anyone interested can register online with Network Irlande or our sister company in Ireland, the Franco-Irish Chamber of Commerce in Dublin. And so the event is in November, so you can already save the date. And it's a beautiful venue. It's a dinner, and this year it will happen in Paris, because 1 year out of 2 it's in either Paris or Dublin, and this year it will be in Paris, au Cercle des Armées. So it will be a beautiful venue, so you are all very welcome. So again, back in November 2019. Okay,
well, we'll keep that date. Definitely. Thank you very much for the invitation. Well, we seem to have touched on all bases here. It's been very good to have you on the programme. But before I let you go, what lies ahead for Franco-Irish trade relations in the coming years that we should actually be excited about now in 2019? Sinead?
Well, certainly from my perspective, the growing number of inquiries by Irish companies to do business in France. There's a certain amount of urgency there now. We're committed Europeans. We want to grow the Eurozone market for Irish products. So I'm very excited about the potential for France for Irish companies, for sure. Referring back to the French-Irish Chamber and the Network Irlande Awards, the winner for the best Irish company in France last year was Ding, one of our star companies, very much operating globally and in Africa, in fact. They are representative of the future, I think, for Irish companies in France. They're investing in France. They're building out their team in France. I'm very excited for more companies to do the same here over the next few years.
And yourself, Richard?
One thing I think we should still do is to educate a bit more people and to explain to them that Ireland is not part of the UK. Because that's one of the big things also. People don't have in mind that there will be still an English-speaking country in Europe and even in the Eurozone, and that Ireland definitely is an independent republic. So it's one thing also that we have to work on.
It is indeed something that I have encountered in the past. And saying, oh, are you leaving us as well? It's like, well, no. We've been a republic for quite a while now and away from the UK. Well, I thank you both very much for being on the programme. Richard Desjardins from, Network Irlande. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, David.
And Sinead Lonergan, the President of Enterprise Ireland here in France. Thank you for being on the programme.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.